Protesting is a democratic right. Every citizen has the right to protest against government policies which he is not okay with or which he is not satisfied with. But what place do death threats have in a democratic protest? And also, what exactly are these protests motivated by? Are they an ideological battle? Are they a genuine asking for something else? Or are they mere opportunistic politics? In September 2020, the central government of India announced the Farm Bill. This bill basically has three laws passed under it. So before we go further, let's have a look at the three laws and understand what they are. The three laws are the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, the Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020, and the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. Now, under the first act, it basically says that it is expanding the scope of the trade areas of the farmers' produce from select areas to any place of production, collection, and aggregation. This also allows electronic trading and e-commerce of farmers' produce. Now, under the second act, a legal framework is provided to the farmers by which they can enter into pre-arranged contracts with the buyers, which includes pricing. Under the third act, the center has the power to regulate food items, and it also provides for a stock limit on agricultural produce based on price rise. These are the three acts under the Farm Bill in a nutshell. If you're interested, I'm providing a couple of links below in the description to know more about these in detail. Now, as you all might already know, from the past few days, farmers from Punjab and some from Haryana have been protesting against this act. There could be two potential reasons for these protests. First is that the farmers are genuinely afraid of what the act implies and what the changes are and what it might mean for them in the future. The second is that they are just politically motivated groups who are feeling the farmers' fears and they are running a very well-tailored propaganda. Now, you can't help but wonder if this is a fight of ideologies, because this act is undoubtedly a capitalistic move. It is about free markets and giving the freedom in the hands of the farmers. They can decide where they want to sell their goods and for how much they want to sell their produce. Now, seeing what the state of farmers has been so far in our country, I personally feel that this is a great move and a great way to bring in the concept of free markets into the Indian agricultural system. It is high time that the farmers start operating on a brand new system and engage with their own work with a lot more freedom. And yet, when you look at the protests and what has been happening in the protests and where it is heading, what all we have seen during the past few days, unfortunately, it is very clear that it is not actually a well thought out or intellectual and ideological battle. Now, there is a reason why only farmers from these states are protesting. So each state has to be taken as a separate case. If you look at Punjab, 70% of wheat and 85% of rice that is produced is procured. Whereas in UP, only 10% of wheat is procured at the market selling price or the MSP, and only 24% of rice is procured. Also, the APMCs in Punjab are very strong, which means that if the farmers are given more freedom of choice, then the government, which is already procuring the majority of the produce, will definitely face potential loss. Which is why both the Congress and the Akali Dal, which, if you remember, back in 2019 actually themselves agreed that the APMCs are harmful to the farmers. And yet now they are instigating the farmers to protest against the bill. Secondly, I'm sure that you would have seen by now the various videos on social media where the people involved in the protests, they are bringing in elements of support for Bhindranwale, they are bringing in the elements of the Khalistani movement. Now, personally, I'm not sure why, if the farmers' protest is really genuine, these fringe elements and these fringe propagandas and these fringe agendas need to be added on to this. Now, coming back to the protest, I definitely don't think that these fringe elements should be allowed to delegitimize the entire protest itself. I mean, they might be there for just viral publicity or for other selfish and politically motivated agendas. Coming to the farmers, they genuinely do seem to have genuine concerns about the new bill. because after all, it is a complete change of the system, complete change of how the whole system functions, and it is difficult for everybody to adapt to it extremely fast. It is always a challenge and always a bit uncomfortable to adapt to brand new systems, even if these systems mean greater good and longer term greater benefits. Now, according to me, there are 3 things which need to be made completely clear to the farmers. The first is that the mandis are not being completely taken off the game. It is just that the farmers are not bound to them anymore. If they want to, they have all the freedom to continue selling as they used to before. If not, they have brand new options which might actually give them more profits. If you get a bigger buyer and you have the freedom to sell your produce to them, I think that is a very positive and an empowering step. Second, there is no taking over of the private sector and private industries. If anything, the agricultural system itself will start leaning more towards capitalistic ethics, if I may say so, because of the free markets introduced. As mentioned before, there will be pre-arranged contracts, which will basically mean that every step of the production of the crops to the selling of the crops will happen within a specific time frame and cost. The third thing, make the farmers aware of other farmers in other states who are actually benefiting from the bill in practical ways. If you look at the example of Jitendra Bhoi, who is a maize farmer from Maharashtra, he recently sued 2 traders for not clearing an outstanding bill of rupees 2,85,000. This was made possible because of the new bill, and especially under the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. This bill basically mandates the buyers to pay cultivators within 3 days of the transaction. So when the payments of the farmer was delayed by almost 4 months, this bill made it possible for him to approach authorities, which he did, I think, in the first week of October. And because of that, the buyers were immediately ordered to pay back the due amount or face criminal charges. Apart from these 3 steps, of course, definitely the main narrative of what the Farm Bill is about and what the protest is about needs to be strengthened, because, if the opposition can have such a well-planned strategy, such a well-planned marketing operation in place, whether you look at the CAA protests or whether you look at the current Farm Bill protests, I'm sure that the actual narrative can be made much louder, much more clearer, and much more simple to understand. When it comes to the farm bills, of course, it can be done by the central government, by the state governments, and especially also the local government bodies who can have a much more direct contact with the farmers and help them out in any way that they can to understand the bill and to also clear any confusions that they might have. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the Farm Bill, and also how the farmers can be made to trust and to also be in much more peace regarding the whole process change. As always, please do subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any further videos. Do like, share and comment the video if you found the content useful and helpful. Until next time, take care.